Hello and welcome to another episode of For the Love of Oats. I'm joined by the co-host Vicky Masita, and we've got a very special guest, which I'm always happy to have on, and that is the George boy, George Osborne. How are you doing today?
Thank you for having me on. I think I've been on once before, haven't I? I think that was the end of my 2019 prep, if I remember. I think that was a long. I think I probably had the dark beard back then, didn't I? And still had my top knot. So I think I look like a completely different person. I still look.
I totally forgot about the top knot, George, until you just reminded me. Then
even the black beard. I look back now and I think, wow. You know, when you was younger and you used to go through all these phases, like planking on stuff and going like this and that. I look back now and I think,
no, because I'm such an old twat now. I've never done that.
Have you not looked back on anything when you were younger and go, why on earth did I do that?
I have done, yeah, but I never did this kind of like, here, take my picture and then cover your face. I get it now all the time, like with my kids, and they're like, oh, I'll take this picture of me, and they're like this. I'm like, well, move your fucking hand. What are you covering your face for? Oh, you can't see my face on a picture. Why? What's that? And I'm like, my daughter showed me a picture of her boyfriend. She's like, here's my boyfriend. And I swear to God, people, if you're not seeing me on YouTube, but like the picture of her boyfriend is this. I'm like, it's literally the phone in front of his face. I'm like, I have no idea what to respond to that. I'm sorry. But yeah, he's nice. He's got a nice phone.
Nice phone.
To be fair, in 2019, I went through this phase. I think prep does something to your head, man. It just fucks you up. Like, I shaved my fucking hair off and grew my fucking bum fluff beard out. And I was like, yeah, that looks legit. And I look like a proper crackhead, man. And again, I just look back and I'm like, why have you done that to yourself? What what kind of self is this?
It's the exact same. I look back, and normally when I look back at stuff, it was when I was going through puberty, so I was changing, my hormones were changing, that sort of stuff. But I was 21, 22 when I was on prep, and I was thinking, I've gone past that stage, and I'm looking back now, and I think, oh, why did I do that? But anyway, yeah. To answer your question, I'm all good. Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on again. It's an absolute pleasure. A lot of things have changed, which I'm probably sure we'll talk about in this podcast for sure. But yeah, I'm on the way up now. Things are going forward, looking forward to life, and yeah, more than motivated than ever, mate. I'll be honest, I'm more than motivated than ever.
You do seem happy within yourself, man.
Yeah.
And you feel you do seem to be like in a good place. But it's good, man. You're the king of adversity. It seems.
I like to keep it real. You know me. I like to keep it real open, because let's be honest, we're all human. We all go through the same stuff. Like, why do people scared to talk about this sort of stuff? Yeah, it's all very normal. And like I've always said, and you guys know this, that if I can help one person out with what I say, and one person can understand, it's better than nothing, in my opinion. That's for sure.
Absolutely. I think it's just a lot of people are hesitant to appear vulnerable. And I think a lot of people think that will just make them appear weak, but it just makes them appear human, relatable. And other people will probably looking at it going, fuck, shit, it's okay. It's okay to feel that way, and I think that's why it's very important to be honest. And this is why I do admire when you're honest and you say, listen, right, life's not great. Because there's a lot of people on Instagram, they just post the highlight reel all the time. And they just post like the best version of themselves, and it can mess with a lot of people's heads. A lot of people compare and they go, "Why isn't my life like that? Why aren't I in that position? And why isn't my life going that smooth?" So it's a breath of fresh air when someone's like, "Actually, here's the good parts of my life, but also here's the other parts of my life, and here's how I'm dealing with it. Here's how I'm going to overcome it." It's inspiring shit, man, because other people could probably take that and go, "Yeah, okay. He's a fucking human. I'm a human. I'm not that different after all." And there's light at the end of the tunnel at the end of the day.
Yeah, absolutely. And if, like, for me, when people tell me about their situations, it kind of almost makes me feel a little bit better. As horrible as that sounds, knowing that other people are going through the same sort of stuff as me kind of makes me feel better. Like, obviously the quitting smoking side of things, I had loads of people messaging me about being in the same position, that sort of loss of appetite, no drive, that sort of stuff, feeling lost within their lives. And I was thinking, hang on, I'm not the only one that goes through this sort of stuff. And I'm sure there's people out there that go through worse things in life for sure. But for me, knowing that I'm not the only one, because I sometimes get in that sort of routine of thinking, as soon as things don't go right, I'm like, oh, why is this my luck? Why me? This and that. And I'm thinking, really? Like, do I really need to think like that just because I've had a little bit of bad luck? Like, there are people out there that are going through a lot more shit than what I am. You know, that stuff is very minimal compared to other people, you know? So, yeah, that definitely does make me feel better when I am more open about these sort of things. I'm glad I do it. I don't regret doing it at all. You know, I'm very open and honest.
Yeah. It's all a matter of perspective, isn't it, in life? You know, you can look at things and multiple options. It's like sometimes you can look at a certain scenario, a certain adversity, and go, this is so shit, you know, and think a lot of pessimistic things. Or you can look at it the other way. You go, actually, you know, it's not that bad. There's an opportunity from this. You know, here's a way out, and you know, you can actually have a lot calmer mindset with that. And I would always say, when you're approaching adversity, just look at it in a way, in the perspective that is going to be the least sort of harmful. You know, that's going to neg you out the least, basically. But one of the things I did want to speak about is actually quitting cannabis. You know,
yeah, of course.
I was actually one of those people that messaged you, and I thought, you know, again, great, awesome. I thought, you know, I mean, we were actually quite, a lot of the mindset that I was having in regards to cutting down and just having some time off was actually, you know, something that you had gone through as well. Mm-hmm. In regards to just being productive, and, you know, you could be in a slump with it, especially when you're doing it every single day. So what was the turning point for you to go, right, okay, I like cannabis, but I need to not have it all the time. I need to have it.
I think the tables turned when I was literally not doing anything in my life anymore. Like, we came out of lockdown, and I was like, right, when we come out of lockdown, it's an opportunity for me to actually start doing things again, being more productive, you know, bringing out more content, because I can do stuff in the gym and record stuff. But when I was in the lockdowns, yes, I had the privilege of actually training in a gym, which I was very blessed for, but I didn't want to start posting content about that because I didn't want to ruin any reputation for the gym owner that I was training at, and people messaging me because they knew where I trained in the end, because obviously I could have it in the location in my, you know, Instagram and stuff like that. So I lost the love of doing that, and I fell in the love of just being lazy and smoking a lot. And it started at the beginning of lockdown, which was fine, you know, once a week, this here and there, you know, I was getting the benefits from it like you normally would do. But then it started coming 3 days a week, 5 days a week, 7 days a week. Then it was twice a day, every day, then 3 times a day, every day. And by the end of the month, you know, I was like £400 down this month, and I'm literally just smoking all my money up into the air. That's what I was realizing. And if you're a cannabis smoker, you know that it is. I mean, it's not. I don't know if the drug itself is addicting or whether the high you get from it is addicting and how you feel. But I wasn't getting the same sort of high. I was smoking 3 spliffs a day, to the point where when I first started smoking, I could have a few tokes, and then, oh my God, like, whoa, I'm lightheaded here. Like, this is great. And I'd have a whole fat one to myself, and it's not that big, obviously, but I'd have a fat one to myself, and it was like, okay, this isn't getting me high anymore. I need another one.
Sure, with a baseline, really, you get to a point. I personally found that you would get to a point, and you can't really surpass that point. It just gives you a little spike, and then it's just like that, basically, rather than, you know, when you initially do, it's like,
100%.
You know, crazy.
And it would get to the point where I wasn't actually looking after myself anymore. I wasn't looking after my health, because I actually had some stomach issues, digestive issues, which I actually do think was caused by the smoking itself and doing that for a prolonged period of time like I was doing. My relationship with food was dreadful. Like, I'd go for, yes, I'd try and keep my meals as clean as I could, but as soon as I smoked, everything would just go out the window. And it was getting to the point where my appetite wasn't even great anymore, even if I was smoking. Like, normally I'd get the munchies and be like, wow, I could eat everything in sight. Got to the point where I was like, I'm not even bothered about food. If anything, I still don't want to eat. And I was thinking, right, that's a big issue. And then towards the end of my, before I fell ill and had stomach issues, I was relying on that to actually get my 4,500 calories in. And for me, that's a big issue. And then it got to a point where I was like, hang on, if I have a day where I can't get hold of anything, or my supplier hasn't got anything, what am I going to do? How am I going to be able to eat my food? How am I going to be able to sleep at night as well? That was the biggest thing I was thinking about. And I was like, do I really want to do this now? Like, I'm getting towards 25. especially when I was I hit 24 in April, and I was like, right, I want to get on my life now, move out, get a mortgage. I'm wasting £400 a month on this stuff. £400, that's some people's mortgages. You know, it's a lot of money that has just been wasted away. And it was hard. Don't get me wrong, like me actually telling myself I need to change that because I got in such a routine of habit of doing it every day, you know, and the lockdowns didn't help by any means. But I'm glad I made that decision of coming out of it and telling myself I don't need to be doing that anymore, because it just doesn't make you, it just changes you as a person. It really does. It really does. Like I've got a friend who I used to go to college with back when I was 17, 18, and I met up with him last year and I haven't seen him since college, and he's changed. Can't talk to him without him being high. He's a different person now. And I was thinking, I don't want to be that person. I don't want to be a different person. And it was changing me as a person, making me lazier. I've always been, you know, a productive person, and I wasn't. So yeah, that was a telltale sign for me to change my my lifestyle for sure.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. I think the thing is, in regards to cannabis, is as well, it's one of those, because it's becoming more accepted in society and more people are doing it, and it's not a harmful drug. It's not perceived as an addictive, harmful drug. And you know, a lot of people are putting arguments saying that, you know, it's a medicine and it's harmless, essentially. So it's very easy to fall into that trap and sort of convince yourself that this is okay. I'm smoking. It's not changing me. Everyone smokes. It's okay. It's not going to be an issue. And it's very easy to I would say more so to get stuck in rut, rather than something like a hard drug. You'd be like, right, this is bad, you know, I can't take this a lot. You know, say if you were drinking a few times a day, you'd be like, right, okay, this is a problem. It's more easier to identify a problem, but it's quite common to see someone just wake and bake and get high and be quite functional. But I agree, it's very easy to change. And that's what I was noticing with myself, is I was just getting a little bit more lethargic. My brain function just wasn't quite there. And my drive wasn't there. Even when I wasn't sober, I was just feeling a little bit lethargic as a byproduct of smoking previously. It was taking a little bit longer to wake up. My day was just set back, and it just had a domino effect on just tasks that I wanted to do. And it also evokes a thought of, it doesn't really matter, you know, just a little bit more laid back approach, which is nice if you want to chill out and you're on it all the time. But if you're too laid back, you can watch your life pass by and you go, I still haven't done what I wanted to do. I think you hit the nail on the head in regards to digestion as well. That's something I can sort of relate to, because that's what I used to wake up. I mainly smoked in the evening. So I used to wake up and I wondered why my digestion was just a bit funny in the morning. And it's not really spoken about, smoking cannabis and the effects on your digestion. It's not really a thing that people really speak about. And I noticed my digestion as a byproduct of that just improved in the morning. I was able to just wake up and not have an upset stomach. And I was like, oh shit, I didn't even make the connection. So yeah, definitely something I did notice for sure.
For me, it was getting to, this is where I noticed it was a big issue. I was getting to a point where I used to eat some of my meals throughout the day, and I used to throw it up and then just eat again afterwards. You know, that was a turning point. I was like, how am I continuing to do this, eating and then throwing up and then going to eat again? I was spending like 3 hours in one block just trying to get a meal down me, because my appetite was so fucked outside of smoking. It's it is quite scary when I look back now. I was living like a sort of delusional life of it. Oh, nothing's wrong. It's just a little bit of cannabis, but it's still a drug. It's still a problem. You know, if you abuse it, you do get the downsides of it for sure. Vicky, you ever smoked before? Open to talk about that? Have you ever gone down that route, or?
Years and years and years ago, I never really used it in terms of like bodybuilding or anything like that. Okay. Obviously, I'm a lot older than both of you guys. Old enough to be your mum, near enough. I am Jack's mum, to be perfectly honest. I look after so much more. So yeah, I mean, I used to just have a bit of a toke every now and again with the guys down at the pub when we used to come back and stuff. It was never something that I realistically relied on, never something that I majorly enjoyed or anything like that. I remember just one time having a bit of a toke and just getting the giggles really badly over the name Graham, because I just thought that the name Graham was hilarious at that certain point. And And that was the only thing that I realistically remember doing it. I don't know if you guys ever remember doing bongs or anything like that. So we used to do bongs. Fucking hell. They were just horrendous. I mean, why on earth anybody would want to do those? Instead of just having a nice little chill smoke, you do a bong. I used to do like one of those and just white you out, which was just disgusting. So no, I was never really a big smoker, to be perfectly honest with you. I was never really into anything like that. I was a pretty good girl. You know, I was on my own for quite a lot of the time because I moved out of home when I was 16, just before my 16th birthday. So I was very independent and just kind of like lived my own independent life. So I kind of grew up really quickly because I still wanted to put myself through college and through university. And that's obviously what I did. And I just kind of figured that smoking and alcohol and any kind of other drugs or, you know, things, debauchery and savage and all the rest of it was going to impact on that, and I needed to be more responsible. So that's basically what I did. So yeah, I was quite a boring Miss Marple, to be perfectly honest with you. I think I'm more of like a high kid now as opposed to what I was back then. But again, you know, I'm older, I'm longer in the tooth, I'm a little bit more savvy about what needs to be done and what can be done. And it's just exactly what you're doing right now. You're realizing that you can grow up and just kind of go, actually, yeah, I am just like wasting all of my fucking hard-earned money and smoking it up the chimney. And what is it actually doing for me? Not really a great deal. You know, it's not going to put my food on the table. It's not going to make me a better person. It's not going to make me be one of those people that people look up to in a way, because when have you ever smoked a spliff and actually thought to yourself, I'm doing that because somebody I look up to does it?
Never. I don't look up to anyone that smokes.
Exactly.
I really don't.
So
yeah.
Arnold did it.
Putting yourself up on a pedestal by obviously smoking as well. It's a complete and utter pointless endeavor. Yes, there are some instances where you can use it in terms of like helping you sleep and relaxation and that kind of stuff. But realistically, I mean, studies have continuously shown that it doesn't have that much of a bearing on your sleep at all. You know, it's more of like a psychological kind of thing where you can just chill and relax. Whereas you can, I had this conversation with a client of mine actually, where he said, I need to have a glass of red wine in order to relax of an evening time, because that's when I actually get to sit down and chill. And the thing is that he was doing himself a disservice with this, because the red wine always used to fuck with his performance the next day. So what we did was we literally exchanged that for a cup of tea or an iced coffee or something else like that that wasn't alcohol related, but I made him sit down and have it. And all it was is that exchange, but he was correlating the fact that he was like, right, now I can sit down, I'll have my glass of wine and I'll sit down and I can enjoy it. Where actually it was just the sit down that he needed. It wasn't the fact that it was the glass of wine that was helping him do that. He could still chill out with a glass of fucking milk, which is what he did at the end of the day. So, and he still slept like a baby. So there's no correlation. It's more mentality from that comparison, if you get what I mean.
Yeah, absolutely. I think with weed, there's like, in regards to recreational use, it's not, I'm not saying it's too harmful in my opinion, but it's quite often used to mask things such as your sleep, such as trying to get food down, such as even emotional sort of problems as well. And it's quite easy to convince yourself that you're doing it recreationally and you're masking things alongside it. And it's very hard to distinguish the two. So I think, again, it's not too bad recreational, but when you're starting to use it to mask stuff, again, like, you know, like drinking, it's not harmful if you're doing it recreational every now and then or anything like that. But if you're doing it to mask stuff, then that's when it's an issue. And I think, you know, this isn't like a big anti-weed talk or anything like that. You know, if you can do everything you want to do in life and you smoke and you're happy and, you know, you're still functional, you're doing everything and, you know, it's recreational for yourself, then absolutely cool. You know, some people, it does actually benefit their life. But if it is to a point where it's masking stuff, you can't be in denial about that. You just got to be aware. It's like, am I using this to mask things? You know?
Yes. Yeah, that's exactly what I was doing. I mean, I think weed should be illegalized. I think they should tax the fuck out of it, make a lot of money from it. I think it has its benefits, but like you said, it's all about moderation. You know, I'm not a moderate guy. With everything I do, I'm always taking it to the extreme, and I've done it with the cannabis side of things. Luckily, it's not been 10 years, because the amount of times I told myself I'm going to stop, I never did. But then it just opened up. One day I was just like, I'm going to stop. And for me, I was thinking, oh, should I tailor down a little bit, you know, start having maybe 3 or 4 a week instead of, you know, what I was doing originally. But I was able to go from doing it, 20, God knows how many times a week, 20 plus times a week, to then not doing it at all. I went completely cold turkey on it. And I can do that. I'm that type of person that can do that. For whatever reason, I can just flick the switch in my head and tell, right, I don't want to do this anymore. And then I didn't. It was fucking hard, don't get me wrong. But for me, I'm going to bound to I actually looked up the statistics on how many people rebound in the first week. It's like 70% of people rebound in the first week of quitting cannabis because they missed the withdrawal symptoms. And it is, I had my moments, you know, actually had my first ever panic attack. That's how you might have seen the scratch on my car. I actually crashed my car into like a bollard in a car park and ripped off the front bumper and all that sort of stuff. I couldn't control what I was doing, control my own emotions. And that was with one of the withdrawal symptoms of coming off. So I was very angry as well. Very, very angry. I had this anger over me for the next week, which anything anyone would have done, I'd have been kicking off about it. And it was hard. Like I sit there and think, fuck me, what a week that was. But I'd much rather do that and suffer a little bit than me longing it out. And then, you know, 4 or 5 weeks down the line now, I'm only having 1 or 2 a week. I'm still smoking it. I didn't want to smoke. I was like, that's it, done and dusted. I don't want this anymore. So yeah, funny enough, I actually told myself, because I went and visited AJ and I stayed at his for the weekend. I was thinking, right, this is a perfect opportunity for, because I was trying to find excuses of when to stop. I was like, right, I'm going up to AJ's. I don't know anyone that supplies it up in Rotherham. I'm just going to stop then. I have no excuses. And the first 2 nights when I was up his, or the night, was it 2 nights? I can't remember now. It was the night sweats, couldn't sleep. Everything was just, the first week, the sleep was horrendous. The night sweats were the worst. I've never had night sweats like that in my life. And then the second week, all of a sudden, the dreams were very, obviously what cannabis does, it blocks out your REM sleep. So for the past 1.5 years, I haven't had any dreams at all. You know, I've had just very light sleep. I haven't really gone into that sort of stage of sleep. And it was like, wow, when it came back, it was like, I was really in those dreams. It wasn't scary or anything like that at all, but you wake up like, was that real? Was that not real?
Yeah,
sort of every night. It's very, but once you kind of get over that, like now I don't even think about it. Like I used to be sitting there like, what's the time? Like 3 o'clock now, is it? Yeah, 3 o'clock. I'd be sitting here itching for one, like, right, okay, I need something right now. But now I don't even think about it. Do not think about it. I've changed my routine completely. I journal now. I do headspace before I go to bed. I do all these different things that I never used to do, that I used to just smoke all of that away and just issues, whatever it would be. I just smoke. And now I've changed that lifestyle. I don't even think about it. And that's 4 or 5 weeks ago now. So I've been able to change it around quite quickly, which is surprising for me. Not surprising, actually. That's not surprising at all, because I know I can do that. It's just me being lazy with it. That's it.
Yeah. You've always had that sort of all or nothing personality, which is great. It's cool. Again, it's something I can relate to, because I'm an individual that has a little bit of an addictive personality, and this is why, for myself, I think bodybuilding is such a lifesaver. I've always said that if I was a bodybuilding, I don't want to think about the shit I probably would have got up to, because bodybuilding allows me to just be accountable to just looking after myself, really, you know, because looking after yourself is, you just contributes towards the goal greatly. Obviously, just little things like being hydrated, make sure you sleep well, make sure you get a good night kip, and just making sure you stress low, and just make sure you're eating healthy and well and things like that. Just keeps you accountable to looking after yourself. So I thought, if I'm going to be addicted to something, it may as well be something positive, essentially. And I think that's the thing. And a lot of people who do slip into this, with any sort of substance, not necessarily just weed. I think if you are trying to quit, it's just worth replacing a negative habit with something positive, and just having that put in place, because you can't just take away something and have a void there, because it's not really sustainable, and it's not really, you know, I wouldn't say you would be happy doing that at the end of the day.
I mean, I what I do now, and I read before I go to bed. I used to fucking hate reading. Never read a book in my life until now, and didn't see the benefits of it. Didn't really understand the point of reading. But ever since I've been doing that, I've been able to actually improve my spelling. Little things like this that I've never been actually good at. I've been able to improve my spelling. Like sometimes I'll go onto Google Translate and type in the word and not understand it. But that's me sort of learning, and I'm doing something productive in that phase instead of just sitting there watching Netflix or watching Top Gear or whatever I used to do and smoke. I'm actually sitting there now and trying to improve my vocabulary, which has always been a weakness for me and in school and stuff like that. So I'm turning that side of things into more of a positive, or doing something that's going to contribute towards me and making myself better. And that certainly wasn't making me any better for sure. Even with the sleep side, I used to write on it for sleep, but it wouldn't improve my sleep at all. I still wake up feeling battered. I still didn't get a proper night's sleep, bags underneath my eyes, that sort of stuff. You know, waking up at 2 o'clock in the morning because I can't go back to sleep because I need it. You know, it's just not a way of living, you know, especially as you want to start growing up and maturing and stuff like that. It's just not me. It's a phase. I don't regret it at all, but it's a phase. Like back in uni days where I used to do other stuff, other drugs, that sort of stuff, just back in the day. You leave that there. And now I'm hoping to leave the cannabis side of things just there and not have to worry about it for any future references.
Yeah.
Until maybe when I'm older.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I think it's suppose, you know, it's just recognizing, you know, you're having an experience, you're living life at the same time, but you don't want it to obviously dictate life.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. Okay, so in regards to yourself, George, what is your plans in regards from a bodybuilding perspective? What are the goals now?
Be a full-time bodybuilder, live, breathe like a full-time bodybuilder until I look to compete next year. Again, naturally, like I've said before, I had a bad when I finished my 2019 prep. I had a bad word about natural bodybuilding. And I was like, fuck this, fuck that, natural bodybuilding shit, real small, this sort of stuff. And I was quite frustrated. I was just frustrated with myself, with how I kind of left it, my condition. I did stuff like not listening to the coach, doing way more expenditure when I was too lean. And, you know, I learned so much from it. And when I had time to actually reflect and understand what happened, I was like, right, okay, I can give this another shot, because I've got a lot of respect for natural bodybuilding, the prep side of things. You know, they're not easy. Getting into the conditions that we do naturally is not fucking easy. It's really, really hard. And it requires a longer prep. It requires you to you know, actually look really, really small and not have the assistance like other people do, unfortunately. And I told myself, right, let's give it another go. You know, let's give this another go and prove to myself that I can be a better person than what I was before. And a lot of my guys that watch me and YouTube and stuff like that, they are mainly natural people. And I want to still showcase and still represent natural bodybuilding in a better way and say, look, this is where I was in 2019. This is what I did when I took 2 years off. And this is where I am now when I live like a bodybuilder, breathe like a bodybuilder. This is the results you can get. And just still inspire and motivate people to do that. But for me, the biggest one is, like, for the past 6 months or so when I was smoking, I was a part-time bodybuilder. You know, I'd still train. The training would never go. I still give 100% into that. But it's what I was doing outside of it. You know, some days I'd have 3 meals, some days I'd have 4 meals, some days I'd binge and eat 2,000 calories in one go. Then I'd obviously have terrible sleep because I was, you know, smoking up till late, then smoking 2 o'clock, then waking up at 6 again, start my day. I'm living and breathing bodybuilding now, and I absolutely love it. You know, I fell in love with bodybuilding again. And I think I've spoken to AJ about this actually, and thinking, you know, is a 2-year off season actually really necessarily needed? Like, it's a very long time to be away and doing the same old stuff that I've been doing for, I think on the first year, I was really motivated. Like, this is an opportunity, especially when I was prepped for 37 weeks. I was like, this is a great opportunity for me to gain strength. You know, that excitement you get to go into a gaining phase of bulk. And then after that, that novelty sort of wears off, and it's just like, oh, this is same old sort of shit. You know, you're not responsive to food as much as what you was before. You gain a little bit of body fat, you look slightly shitter, and it's just the sort of same in day in, day out sort of thing. And I'm thinking now, like, if I had a real good year underneath my belt of just living and breathing bodybuilding like I did on my prep, could I make the same amount of progress in 1 year compared to what I did in 2 years? Because I feel like when I got to that 1.5 year mark, I was like, fuck this. This is, and seeing everyone else compete on stage, I'm like, this is shit. And I'm here looking like a fat mess who's half-heartedly training, or not training, half-heartedly eating and relaxing, that sort of stuff. So for me now, since I've got rid of the smoking element of things, I'm just living and breathing it day in, day out. And my plans from now till whenever shows, I'm thinking probably back end shows next year to give myself plenty of time, is just pushing my body weight up, because I lost a lot of weight through my digestive issues, and really bring a better package than what I did last time. And I learned so much from it as well. So that's my plans for sure.
Absolutely, man. No, that's brilliant. I think a lot of the time with first preps, I was the same. I over dieted and things like that. You have this perception. It could go one or two ways. You can either not understand how lean you have to get in regards to be stage lean, or you could go, right, I need to get stage lean, and the only way to do that is suffer and go down, 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 push, 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 push. And I think this is what I say to people when they are going through their first prep, because everyone wants to be winning shows. They want to be doing, they just want to beat everyone and just be very competitive and shit like that. I'm like, okay, cool. That's a great goal to have, but don't forget to enjoy it and learn about the process, because your first prep will be such a learning curve, because you will make mistakes. It's natural when you try anything the first time. You're going to be making mistakes. You cannot be perfect at everything the first time. And just learn. It's mainly just about a learning experience, and then you can pass that on. Each prep's a learning curve anyway, so it's worth just picking that up and just taking it with you. And I honestly do think next time you're on stage, you'll do very well. Obviously, you'll have the 2 years off from growing, and you'll be putting on a lot of tissue, but you'll also save a lot of tissue as well. And the condition you'll get into will probably be very, we'll just thank you for it. Basically, you'll be able to look peeled, nice, full, and dry. And I think it'll be a very good look. And I think you will prove to a lot of people who are a little bit skeptical about natural bodybuilding that you can look very fucking good as a natural bodybuilder, because that seems to be the negative perception of natural bodybuilding, is like, you can't look good as a natural bodybuilder.
There's some fucking great naturals out there. Some of them at the moment, I think, fuck me, naturally looking like that. I mean, yes, genetics plays a massive part, but it's when you start comparing yourself to others, which I've slowly started to, as I've got older. I don't do that as much. At first, I was like, what is Jay Cutler doing? What's his diet look like? How much protein? What's he doing? All this sort of stuff. But now I just think, like, I'm my own person. I can progress how I want to progress. And I just need to beat myself. That's all it was, to tell myself. And I know I can do that through what I learned. So like funny you said, like when I finished my 2019 prep, it took me about 6 months to actually gain the muscle back that I lost during the fucking prep. And I posted like a side-by-side photo together, like comparing where I was before to where I am now. And like, oh my God, you've made so much difference. And I'm thinking, this ain't no difference. This is what I was looking like before I went into a prep and over dieted and did stuff that I shouldn't have done, like running on Stairmaster for 30 minutes.
We literally did speak about this in the last podcast. Like, again, my first prep, it took a long time to recover from that. Just hormonally, like libido was gone even after. I'm just getting that back, and I was just blowing up with water very easily. It was a little bit of a watery mess. Again, this is just one of the benefits of just having just knowing when to dig at the prep, when to hold back, because you can save yourself a lot hormonally, and it will set you up nicely for the off season as well. How you approach prep will inevitably affect how you approach the off season after that as well, especially in natural bodybuilding, because you can't just go, right, I've got to fix my hormones, boom, just take some tests and you're fucking there and you're just ready to shag. It just did not work like that. But yeah, in regards to when you had some time, your digestive issues, how were you through that? How were you having time off? Because I'm pretty sure, obviously, because you love training, it was probably a little bit weird at first. And there was a lot of people who really, really don't like having time off, and they do struggle with that.
So funny enough, when I went up to AJ's, he saw it firsthand what I was going through. And it would be sometimes I'd be going to the toilet depending on how much I ate, it would be up to 10 times a day. And for me, that is a big issue. Like I was getting to the point where when I threw up, I was actually throwing up blood as well at the same time for whatever reason. And I'm that type of person. I've had the young mentality mindset. Oh, I'm young, I'll recover. And now I've got to 24. I'm just like, I'm not that 18, 17-year-old anymore that can just recover from these little things. And I've never been a big fan of going to the doctors or anything like that. And then until AJ saw it firsthand, like we had our videographer Josh with us at the same time, and I cooked my final meal, and he made his about 30 minutes later, and I was still eating mine. And it was about an hour in total after I actually made my food. He's already finished his. I'm still trying to eat my last meal of the day. And AJ saw it firsthand. He was like, mate, you got to do something about this. This isn't right. It's like, take the week off, do not train. And I was thinking, shit, this is going to I'd rarely ever take weeks off. If anything, it would be like a couple of days. And I actually ended up taking 3 weeks off, believe it or not, in total, which since I've been training, I haven't actually done that. Luckily, I'm in my second week back now. Well, the first week was hard, I must admit, because I dropped about 7.5 kilos, just over a stone it was in the space of 3 weeks, or about 2.5 weeks it was. And then the last 3 or 4 days, sorry, I started eating normal again before I actually went back to the gym. So when I got back into the gym, I funny enough, I was leaner, and I could notice the improvements I made through just pushing up my body weight, because I haven't been that lean in God knows how long. But at the same time, I was very small, flat, depleted, and I still am now. I look at my body's nowhere near as what it was before when I fell ill. And he just told me take the week off. And I said, right, if I'm thinking about this long term, I want to do bodybuilding for another 20 years or so. What is 3 weeks in the next 20 years off? It's nothing. 3 weeks is very minor, right? So as much as, and I was, I went to the doctors, they said I had a stomach ulcer. And then I went to the doctors again. He said I didn't have a stomach ulcer. I went privately. They said this, and then it messed me about so much. So I thought, right, let's just manage my stress. Let's do one thing that I haven't done for a long time, and actually manage my stress. Ever since I managed my stress, it's like this ball of, I had pain right in here. On that ball, all of a sudden, it's just gone. And now I feel totally normal. And they'll say stomach ulcer, this and that, have blood tests, everything's coming back, stool tests. I can't tell you how many stool tests I've done in the past month, loads. And it's all come back fine. And it's just one thing I've done is, like I said, with the journaling, the stress, all that sort of thing, I thought, right, let's just get my life back on track to where I need to be. Then the gym's always going to be there. Well, at the moment, hopefully, we don't go into another lockdown. And ever since I've done that, I've just felt back to normal, fell in love with training again, got that urge, that itch to eat my food. My appetites came back to normal completely. I've been on different drugs, that sort of stuff, which has helped me out. And yeah, like I had actually someone message me, and he said his dad had a stomach ulcer, and he actually was on the leg press, and his stomach ulcer burst, and he had a cardiac arrest. So it was like, just be careful. And I was like thinking, fuck me, like I was ready to go and train at this point. And then I was like, no, I'm not training. I'm not going to risk that at all. Hey, having a cardiac arrest over a stomach ulcer at 24, no way am I doing that. So then I just decided, right, just take 3 weeks off. And then when I felt normal, I got back into it, and I've just completely reset now. But mentally hard as anything, really hard to take 3 weeks off, because I was itching to get back, and seeing myself lose fullness, and not necessarily lose muscle, but certainly maybe a little bit, in fact, but just seeing me decline without, I was eating 1-2 meals a day, barely 2, and just seeing me decline that quickly was quite hard to accept, mentally, for sure. I was okay taking the time off, like the 3 weeks. I was like, I got into a habit of thinking, actually, I was getting a bit of anxiety going back to the gym, believe it or not, thinking about it. Like, I've got to go back to the gym now. I was scared about where my logbook numbers and stuff like that was going to be. But now I'm really glad it's done 3 weeks off, even though I'm downsized, my strength isn't where it used to be. It's just, I know I'll be back to normal. Now I'm living that full-time sort of lifestyle.
Awesome. Yeah, man. No, it's really good. I'm glad that you've gotten back into it, mate. You are a little bit of a hard bastard as well, because this is around about the time that you were quitting weed as well.
Yeah.
All this would happen. So
gone for a long, break, had a relationship breakup, moving back home, stomach ulcer, digestive issues, what it was, quitting weed, a lot happened in a short space of time. But I always tell myself there's always light at the end of the tunnel. Just keep going, Georgie boy. You have to jump over these hurdles in life, and I always get through it. I always tell myself that, no matter how hard it is.
yeah, absolutely. And I bet a lot of that all in one go has changed you just as a person a little bit. You've probably got a bit of a, a bit of perspective just coming from the other side of that, really. I just
a lot more mature now than what I was 6 months ago, that's for sure. Actually behaving like an adult.
yeah. Absolutely, man. Have you got any questions for the Georgia boy, Vic?
Nope, I think that we have covered everything quite nicely. It's been nice just kind of like chilling out, to be honest, and just listening to it for a change. Normally I'm the one that's gassing, but I'm 2 days out and I feel fucked. So kind of nice to just kind of like chill out and do all of that malarkey.
Yeah. Sometimes that's the best thing to do. Sometimes I sometimes think, oh, you're not including everyone in the podcast, like, but sometimes like, just take a step back, especially when you're 2 days out, like, don't stress, relax.
2 days out, I am flat as fuck and I'm due to eat in 8 minutes. Yes. So I'm actually because I'm in the life of a bodybuilder, because flat as fuck. Look at that. Flat.
Still got great peaks though.
You got flat.
Still got great peaks.
Yeah, it'll be greater when I'm peaked up a little bit more. It has been wonderful to see both of your faces.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
And I shall see your face in person tomorrow.
Yes, hush.
Because it is Up a Day.
Up a Day?
You guys going to the Fit Expo?
Obviously. Yes. I'm a judge.
I'll see you guys in a couple of weeks then.
Awesome, man. Well, I've won a competition to go. I'm waiting on the ticket, so I'm really hoping that it was a legit competition. I've booked the hotel. I don't want to just be getting there. It's like, okay, I didn't win anything.
I'm sure that isn't going to be sold out. I'm sure you'll get yourself in somehow.
You'll be fine.
Yeah,
fine. Don't worry, mate.
Anyway, we will meet up. We will see each other. And we will see each other. Awesome, guys. So thank you very much for coming on. It's always a pleasure. And I will see everyone again. So I'll catch you later, guys.
Bye.
Bye.